So, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. My first question is, do you have a certain memory that you associate with, like a certain song that you associate with a really like strong memory, like a time where like you hear a song on the radio and you're like, bam, I remember this moment in my life.
You don't hear it very much on the radio, but we spend a lot of time up in Chautauqua, New York, in summers, and once a week we heard Handels Largo played by the organ up there, and that's become a lifetime favorite for me.
There's a song that reminds me of my dad whenever I hear it. When I was little, um, we had records, so they were playing records all the time in the house. And one of my dad's favorite things to play was Rhapsody in Blue um, by George Gershwin. And so whenever I hear that, I think of him. And sometimes it's pretty hard to listen to it because it's just reminds me so much of him.
When you were younger, did you have similar musical tastes as your parents, or did they listen to different things than what you were listening to?
To tell you the truth, I've always loved the songs from the 40s, which that would be my parents' time. Um, and when I was a teenager, it was the 50s, and because I was a teenager, I did listen to, but I think I've always loved the 40s because that's what I grew up with when I was little. So those songs stuck with me, and I still love those. Not so much the 50s anymore.
I would say the 40s too. In those days, rock and roll was just getting its footing. So young people listened to the same things as old people. The first song that I can remember ever hearing was Don't Fence Me In.
You're talking about rock and roll, about younger generations versus older generations. What do you think of the music that people listen to today? Do you enjoy listen? Do you find it enjoyable or?
I think part of the problem is that I don't spend a lot of time listening. I used to listen to music on the car radio more than any other place. Nowadays, I'm listening to sports talk shows as I drive in the car, and that's about it. So I don't hear much of today's kids' music. I can tell you that I'm a fan of Grace VanderWaal because she's going to play the lead in the movie called Stargirl. So I'm a big fan of hers. But I like music from musicals, tuneful stuff, everything from Oklahoma and South Pacific to Sound of Music and Les Mis.
So I listen to music from Alexa. So I love to say, Alexa, play this and play that, because then I can play every song I ever loved, and I have a whole, like about 5 sheets of my favorite songs. So I don't have to listen to an album with 5 songs I don't want to hear. I can just tell her. So I listen to this. I listen to the songs from the 40s and songs that I like, the Beatles. I listen to. I love Broadway, but I don't listen to contemporary music. I don't have a chance really to hear it. So I wouldn't know if I guess I would like some of it and not like some of it.
Are there any singers or performers that you've seen live that really stuck with you?
Josh Groban we saw in New York City, and I love his music. I love his singing voice. And we went to the Broadway show, and it's Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. And so besides loving his music and his voice, after the show, we were with a small group of people, mostly senior citizens, but not all. Small group, maybe, I don't know, 10 people. And after the show, when I'm sure he must have been exhausted and wanting to get to his hotel or wherever he was going, he came out and talked to us. And you could tell that he wasn't rushing, that he was so kind and so real and not giving us like a facade, but just being really kind in himself. And I just, ever since then, I thought, wow, that's really a nice man.
Two of them that we've seen are Perry Como, when he was really getting up there in years and he forgot some of the words, at the Valley Forge Music Fair. And I also particularly enjoyed a concert that with Ray Charles at Playhouse in the Park. They were two of my favorites.
Are there songs that you enjoy that your children enjoy as well, or is their music different than the music that you both listen to?
Our kids are so they're not young anymore, you know. So they like a lot of the music that we do. They like Broadway. They even like they like some of the 40s, but we really don't talk about music a lot when we're all together. So I don't even know. I just know a couple of them. Like, okay. I know our son Jeff loves music from the 40s. Probably our youngest son Ben likes more contemporary. I know Ben likes rap. So,
so is there a favorite album that you would recommend to somebody that you really loved, or a favorite single or song that you really enjoy?
When I think of my all-time favorite songs, that's tough, but I probably Ray Charles, I Can't Stop Loving You comes to mind, and in fact quite a few songs in that genre. Album-wise, maybe the one that has what was it, Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio, Mrs. Robinson, from Simon and Garfunkel, mm-hmm. and probably Abbey Road, the Beatles.
It's not an album, but I love anything from the Great American Songbook. I love all those old standards. So if there were an album with all those old standards, even if they were different artists doing them, I would probably recommend that. When I was in kindergarten, I used to write notes on a page, and I brought them to my teacher, and then she would sit at the piano and play a song. And it wasn't until I was 9 that I realized that she wasn't playing the notes I had drawn on the paper, that she had,
nice of her to do that.
Yeah, and I don't remember anything about kindergarten, but her sitting at the piano playing my songs. I was just so proud. I took piano lessons when I was about 6 or 7, but we didn't have a piano. We had this. It's
Wow.
a cardboard keyboard. Now you try taking music lessons on this, and then you'd put it out on a table, and then you would practice, and then you would go and you would play, and that's the reason I don't play piano today. So those are two things from when from my kidhood and music.
I used to stand at the side yard fence when I was about 3 and sing to passers-by. One day, I believe in 2nd grade, I went to school. This was not Halloween. I dressed up in my total cowboy outfit, including boots and spurs and hat. Went to school that way, walking a half mile to school. And when the teacher saw me walk in, she said, well, would you like to do something for us? And so I sang I Have the Spurs That Jingle, Jangle, Jingle to the class, and then took my seat. And as I say, it was not Halloween. The only instrument I ever played was the clarinet. I started playing it in 6th grade. Then I got to 7th grade and was playing football, and I had a difficult question to pose to the coach or the music teacher. How can I be in the band and play football at the same time? And he didn't have an answer for that, so I gave up the clarinet.
I was thinking about how music is so that it just lives within us, and the longest thing that lives within us, I think, because my mother had dementia, and she didn't even know who my sisters and I were. She didn't know our names or anything. But when my dad would play songs for the 40s, she could sing all the words. and that kept her calm. He would play music from the 40s on the record player, and she would sing those songs, and it would ease her mind, it seemed, and yet she didn't remember us, but she remembered the music. So I think music is just really more than just, it's more than we think it is, or
That's exactly what makes this so important, is that music is such an important part of what makes us human, I guess.
Right. I think it's the oldest of the arts. I think it's the most evocative.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you, John.
This is great.